around the world to make sure that they are the dominant economic and military power. And so I want to do everything that we can to make sure that never happens. And so, China is everywhere, and China is in all parts of the world, and we need to wake up. Look, one of the things I really want to focus on is what China is doing in Central and South America, how they are usurping our interests there, how are they gaining a big foothold right here in our backyard. But again, it's about China and China around the world and their plans for world domination.
The other story, too, Congressman, can you talk to us about how Republican lawmakers demand the White House release the intelligence that the Energy Department and the FBI used for its judgment the pandemic likely leaked from a lab in China? Energy Department has low confidence at that. FBI has moderate confidence. By the way, whether or not the pandemic leaked, which people say it did from a lab in China, it has nothing to do with your political party or patriotism. I mean, the media is attacking the lab leak theory. So what do you think the White House should release this intelligence?
Yeah, absolutely. The people of the United States have a right to know where we think that came from. Look, it killed over 1 million Americans and killed millions around the world. It caused a complete disruption of the economy, not only here in America, but around the world. And so Americans and the world need an answer. How does this thing start? Look, I don't think it's a coincidence that there is a lab, right there where this whole thing started. I mean, to actually think that that's a far-right conspiracy is ludicrous. We just want to know the truth, get to the bottom of it, why it happened, and make sure it never happens again.
The Washington Post is reporting on this little-known, storied team inside the Energy Department known as the Z Division, that they got the intelligence and prompted the Energy Department to change its view to that it likely leaked with low confidence. So that's confusing, too. We're going to get into that later in the show. But, to your point, Dr. Fauci spoke out for the first time. He talked to the Boston Globe. And, Congressman, he's downplaying the Energy Department and FBI findings, saying we may never know the source of the outbreak. The Washington Post reported the NIH and Dr. Fauci did secretly fund the creation of superviruses in laboratories, did secretly fund the Wuhan lab via EcoHealth Alliance. What's your reaction to Dr. Fauci here?
Well, I think that Dr. Fauci wants to make sure it never comes to light because, he may have a hand in this. And so for his own self-interest, I'm sure that he doesn't want to know how this thing came out. But look, it just seems to me that the logical place and the logical conclusion is it came from the lab. They were doing gain of function research there. So it only makes sense that it came from there and it somehow leaked out of there. Was it on purpose or was it an accident? Look, at this point, I don't know. But, was the United States involved in some of that gain of function research, and we fund it? And if it all points back to the United States and points back to Dr. Fauci, then I'm sure Dr. Fauci wants to make sure that never comes to light.
So his stonewalling and downplaying at the start of the pandemic on the lab leak is directly linked to his work on gain of function. Let's listen to your point. That's what I think you're saying. Let's listen to Dr. Fauci on all of this. Watch this.
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain of function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Questions have come up about the concern of the danger of people that you fund. NIAID, NIH, certainly CDC, only funds and conducts gain-of-function research on H5N1 highly pathogenic avian influenza viruses. The concern was that the products or information that were generated by these experiments might be used by others in a way that could harm society, either carelessly, in an unregulated fashion, by inexperienced people, or even by deliberate misuse. Gain and loss of function research is critical to understanding disease pathogenesis. We're part of the Department of Health and Human Services, as is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, who also have a considerable amount of contributions, both from a public health surveillance as well as from a research standpoint, in the topic for today, which is gain of function research. Or what historically investigators have done is to actually create gain of function by making mutations, passage adaptation, or other newer genetic techniques.
Is this why he's avoiding oversight now? And he has been for some time.
Yeah, I think so. And look, they've done gain-of-function research. I'm sure they've funded gain-of-function research, outside the United States in the Wuhan lab. And I think that's exactly why he doesn't want any of this to come out, because it actually may point back to him or his agency, and it would be very embarrassing. And frankly, now, after he said he didn't do it in front of the Senate, it could actually be criminal in nature.
So because he's, to your point, misleading, committing perjury?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we need to get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
And no matter what Dr. Fauci said, we need to get to the bottom of it. Maybe he had nothing to do with it, but we need to get to the bottom of it.
Senator Rand Paul, a Washington Post report, Dr. Fauci set up waivers inside the NIH so gain-of-function research could bypass internal committee reviews, that he redefined the definition of gain-of-function to do that. There's also this, the White House keeps talking about there's no intelligence community consensus on what happened here. But so what? Congressman, when was the last time you heard any consensus in the intelligence community? I mean, look at the 51, intelligence officials who claim Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. Do we really need consensus in the intelligence community to go ahead on this?
No, absolutely not. And like you said, we had 51 people from the Intelligence Committee say that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian misinformation. Well, actually, it was those 51 intelligence officials that were misinforming the American public. So no, you don't need consensus on it. You need to, look under every rock and follow pull every string to find out what happened. And I believe when it comes out at the end, it's going to be that it came out of that Wuhan lab.